Listen, I'm just getting started. The Mills Brothers started singing back in your hometown of Piqua, Ohio.
Yes, a little place called Piqua, P-I-Q-U-A, north of Dayton.
In 1922. And there were four of you then, weren't there?
Yes, there were four of us.
What kind of family were you raised in? Would you mind filling us in about your childhood?
Well, my mother and father were both singers. My mother and father was touring for quite some time. My father had a barbershop quartet for years called the Four Kings of Harmony, and he and my mother taught us our harmonies as four brothers. I had three sisters. They all sang, but they didn't do it professionally. Mother and father taught us our harmonies. Each one of us had to learn each other's harmony. We didn't just sing one part. If somebody got sick, then there was somebody else would take over.
Around your hometown, you found yourselves being asked to sing for various groups and functions.
We were so small, so young.
Very fortunate to get into the business as young as we did. We had no problems as far as music is concerned.
We started the quartet when I was 7 years old. We used to listen to the bands coming over the radio, you know. And we used to listen to Ellington from New York. That's where we got the idea of imitating the instruments, trying to imitate the sounds of Duke Ellington. That's where it all started.
Although we liked what we were doing, we were sort of backward. We always felt that people were making fun of us. As we went on, we began to realize that people were liking us instead of making fun. They were laughing, but yet they were applauding too. One of our first big breaks in our hometown was in an amateur show. And on the stage, things happened. It was just unbelievable. So people, they threw money. In those days, there was a lot of big silver dollars around, and they were clanking on the stage all over the place and just raining money in our hometown. These things are funny to look at now because how we were dressed and got prepared for these things. I don't know how to explain how big it was in our minds. And yet, down through the years, the big things that we have done, what we consider big, like playing for the king and queens of England, the crown heads of Europe, I don't think was any bigger than that amateur night.
The first song that we learned, harmony to, was a thing that we used to do in school called the Three Blind Mice. After we learned our harmony, we started singing songs that our father, he had a quartet at the time called the Four Kings of Harmony. They were all barbers. There were some very peculiar songs that they did in those days. Very funny songs. As a matter of fact, I think that's the reason why the people were laughing while we were doing them on stage.
As John was playing the ukulele, he had a kazoo in his pocket, and he would sometimes pull it out and put it in his mouth and play the guitar and give this sound. Somehow it wasn't there at the particular time. It wasn't there, and all of a sudden some other sound came out. And we didn't know where it came from and what it was, although it was there, and we looked at him and paid no attention to the audience, and we were amazed and was listening and working right along, and we all had these kazoos, and we were trying to imitate musical instruments with these little tin horns. After it was all over, we all decided to do the same thing with our little kazoos and throw them away and try to mimic sounds of different instruments.
I was 10 years old when we first started in radio. We went into radio at WLW Cincinnati in 1925. That's when we started our first radio show.
Did you know at the time, especially those early years just starting out in radio and so on, that you were doing something completely unique?
Oh, definitely. Nobody else was doing it. As a matter of fact, that's how we started doing the instrumentation things. We're singing the lyrics and then doing the band things. Trombones, trumpets, saxophones, and clarinets, and bass. That's how the Mills Brothers actually got started in radio. Went down to do an audition with a band from our hometown, and they kept us and let the band go. We've had a lot of fun doing it, I'll tell you that.
You were still teenagers. A band leader by the name of Harold Greenemeyer, whose orchestra was about to audition for a spot on radio station WLW in Cincinnati, and decided to take you along with him on the audition. And the Mills Brothers ended up not only singing with him, but taking the job.
In our summer vacations in our hometown, Harold Greenemeyer's band played all of the night spots and clubs and Rotary dances and things like that. And our father and Harold Greenemeyer got together in a business mind to take us along with them to do our little stint during the dance intermissions. And we became quite popular with the dance people in those days. And all of a sudden, it seemed like every summer, this is where we went on tour with this band. And this band went to WLW Cincinnati for a great audition, and we went along with them. And they had an audition, and they asked, where were those Mills Brothers? And they said, they're downstairs in the car. So we was gotten from the car and went upstairs and did a couple of songs. And to make a long story short, they kept us and let the band go.
Did you guys spend a lot of time on the road?
Well, not at that time. Most of the things we did when we were in radio were around through Ohio and Kentucky and different places like that. We didn't start traveling all over the country until we went into CBS in New York. We expected something to happen, but not exactly as fast as it did.
That audition at WLW in Cincinnati won for you a regular job. You were doing practically any and every program they threw at you. You went unsponsored for about 10 months, but you were building quite a consistent audience there. And finally, the big break came. You were lured on to the big city, New York. How did this come about?
What happened, we had been there for about 10 months doing sustaining programs and weren't making very much money, as you know, in those days. A friend of ours came through. His name was Bob Stevens. He came through with Duke Ellington's band, was playing at the Greystone Ballroom. We went down to hear Duke's band, and we did a couple of songs on the stage there. And by doing this, the instrumentation things that we did, we were doing a lot of things that Duke Ellington had written, things like East St. Louis Toodaloo, Mood Indigo, Black and Tan Fantasy, all of Duke's songs. And he heard these things, and he called New York to his manager, whose name was Irving Mills at that time. And Irving Mills wasn't interested, so he in turn called a fellow by the name of Tom Rockwell, who became our personal representative. Tom Rockwell asked us to come into New York. We went into New York. We had an audition at CBS with Paley. That was
that very same night.
The same night that we arrived in New York, we went and had this audition with Paley at CBS. We signed a contract with CBS the following day, 3-year contract. We opened at the Connie's Inn nightclub in Harlem the following night, and we were there for about a year and a half. And that was the start of the Mills Brothers on the National Hookup.
Harry Von Zell, a great radio announcer in those days, gave us our name as Four Boys and the Guitar, the Mills Brothers.
I think most of the people who were in the business at that time were in the business because they loved and doing what they were doing. They weren't too much interested in whether they made a lot of money or not. They just enjoyed their lives and what they were doing, the singing or whatever it was, you know. And most of them, like Crosby and all the rest of them, we all worked radio at the same time. Crosby, Keith Smith, the Boswell sisters, Burns and Allen, all of them. We all worked together, and it was a wonderful thing. Everybody was friendly.
I'm hoping that trend will come along again sometime.
Well, I hope it will, too. As a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the younger kids in the business now. Bands and colleges, I'm sure glad to see that they're going back and getting some of the old arrangements like Dorsey's been playing these things, which is wonderful as far as I'm concerned.
We were one of the first round-robin programs, and in our travels, we used to pipe our programs into New York.
We'd be in Chicago.
And my brother, whenever he played, to get a tune-up. Where so many people tuned their instruments up to A, we tuned ours up to F-sharp.
Victor Young, coming from New York, would say over the air, he would say, John, give me an F-sharp on your guitar. And they would tune up to his guitar, you see. And then we would go from there.
In 1934, you're asked to give a command performance before King George V and Queen Mary at the London Palladium.
They asked the Mills Brothers to appear for a command performance for the King and Queen of England, and we were so very, very proud to appear at the Royal Box and at Buckingham Palace for the later party with the late Prince of Wales. We were very, very proud to have our mother along with us, too, and she sat up in the box right behind the King and Queen. These are some very fond memories that we will always cherish.
Did you put together a special show for that appearance?
Well, we had a couple of big hit songs in those days that reached all over the world, and we had to do these. We did 3 songs. One was Tiger Rag, which was the first big record, and another thing called Old Rockin' Chair, which was the next big record we had after the Tiger Rag. The third one was a song called Lazy Bones. We did these 3 songs on the stage.
This same year, 1934, you introduced to the music halls of London a new invention still used sparingly in America, the sound microphone. It seems that the Mills brothers were full of innovations.
We introduced microphones to the music halls of London, of England, and Europe. Sophie Tucker also was on that bill. We were the only two American acts on that bill, and she asked to use our microphone, which was another honor. Music has not changed. I don't think it'll ever change. It'll go in circles in different ideas. The younger generation has something that they believe that is brand new. Well, that's good for them. I like that. But it'll always come back to the same thing. The song and the words must be understood for them to be liked. Music has not changed. The young people, they'll say, do you fellas do rock and roll? I say, yeah, sure, all our lives. They think I'm bragging until we have to do something on the stage, and we do it just to show them.
To what do you attribute your lasting power, your staying power over the years?
The only thing I can say about it is the simplicity of what you're doing musically. The music is simple. The lyrics are simple as you can understand. You don't go way out into space. You keep it as simple as possible, something that the people can listen to, hear, whistle, hum, or pat their foot to. I think this is it. And remember the songs.
I don't think it could be put any better than that, really. And I think this may be the reason why the Mills brothers have been around for these many years. Every song that we gather, we listen, we think it out, and we make it as simple as we possibly can. It has kept us in business.
Your father was a barber. Therefore, there was a lot of barbershop harmony always around the house, and especially around the barbershop. You fellas eventually got around to recording a song in barbershop harmony fashion that became quite associated with your career, a song called You Tell Me Your Dream and I'll Tell You Mine.
There you can say that's a Mills Brothers favorite. I'll tell you why, because here's a song that lends itself to the fact that we could sing harmony. Our father used to sing this song with his quartet called the Kings of Harmony, and we used to sneak up to the back door when they was rehearsing in the barbershop, and we'd listen to these harmonies until they found us and they'd run us home. And that's one of the first songs we sang as a group. It was You Tell Me Your Dream and I'll Tell You Mine. Until finally, many, many years after we had gone on to a great success, our father joined us. Then we decided to make a record of You Tell Me Your Dream. We put a barbershop album out on the market then.
One of the songs that is most associated with your career, talking about Lazy River.
Oh, we've done Lazy River so many times and recorded it so many times. It's going to be always a favorite of the Mills Brothers. We first recorded it way back in the 30-something, and then we recorded it when Dad joined us, and then we recorded it here about 12 years ago. And it seems like about every 10 or 12 years we have to record it.
The word success is all-encompassing. It's a broad word. It means a lot of different things to different people. Success. What does it mean to you?
I think the only way I can describe success for me purely is the fact that I am able today to do my first teaching, do unto others as you have others do unto you. This is the way we were raised. And I believe that this success has helped me to carry this thing through, do unto others as you have others do unto you. And I've tried to do this way. And it's an awful good feeling if you can have something to give you that kind of help, because there are times in one's life where you don't feel like you want to do these things. But if you can fall back on something, it'll give you a lift. Well, in this success that we have had, there's been things that I can say, well, I'm very fortunate, and I can think like that.
How about you, Donald?
I feel that as long as there's love in what you're doing, that is the success itself. That's the way I feel about it.
Gentlemen, and I use that word in its true and full meaning, I want to thank you so very much for the opportunity.
Wink, it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Dan.
All righty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.